In the dark silence of space, the Galactic Fleet patrolled the stars. The fleet was a mighty force, filled with shiny ships and brave soldiers. Each ship was equipped with the latest technology, ready to fight against any enemy. The commanders felt proud as they flew through the vast emptiness, confident that no one could defeat them. As they moved deeper into uncharted territory, their sensors picked up something strange. The lead ship, SS Valor, alerted the crew. "Captain, we have a reading." "There's an object ahead!" The crew leaned closer to their screens, curiosity growing. "What kind of object?" Captain Jax asked, his eyes narrowing. "Looks like a ship, but it's old." "Very old," replied the chief engineer, Zara, her fingers flying over the controls. The crew exchanged puzzled glances. "An old ship? Out here? Prepare to investigate," Captain Jax ordered, excitement tingling in his stomach. He loved a good mystery. As the SS Valor approached, the crew saw the ship clearly. It floated silently, covered in layers of dust and debris. Its hull was dented and rusty, and parts of it looked like they might fall off any moment. The ship bore the markings of humanity, a design from a time long gone. Laughter erupted in the control room. "Look at that," one soldier chuckled. "It's like a metal dinosaur. Can you believe humans used to build ships like that?" Another added, shaking his head in disbelief. Captain Jax tried to keep a serious face, but a smirk appeared. "It must be a museum piece," he said. "Should we bring it on board for study?" Just as the crew continued to mock the ancient ship, a soft hum filled the air. It was faint at first, but it grew louder, echoing through the control room. The laughter stopped. "What's happening?" Zara exclaimed, her fingers racing across her controls. The ship began to glow with a strange light. Alarms blared on the SS Valor. "We're getting power readings." "The ship is coming online!" Zara shouted, her eyes wide with shock.
"What?"
Captain Jax couldn't believe it. This ship had been thought to be dead for ages. How could it be coming to life now? Before anyone could respond, the ancient ship unleashed a surge of energy. Bright beams shot out from its sides, illuminating the darkness of space. The crew of the SS Valor watched in awe as the ancient human warship's engines roared to life, shaking the stars around it. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Captain Jax yelled, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The crew scrambled to their stations. What had started as a moment of mockery was turning into something much more serious. As the SS Valor darted away, the ancient warship turned toward them. Its weapons, hidden for so long, emerged from the ship's hull, gleaming under the distant light of the stars. The crew of the SS Valor felt a chill run down their spines. This was no ordinary ship. It was a relic of the past, awakened and ready for battle. The crew's laughter was replaced by a tense silence. They had underestimated the power of this ancient vessel. Captain Jax gritted his teeth, focusing on the ship before them. "I want every scanner focused on that ship. We need to know what we're up against." The crew complied, their hands trembling as they monitored the readings. The atmosphere in the control room was electric with fear and excitement. They had mocked it, but now they realized they were dealing with a force that had been dormant for ages. As the ancient warship prepared to strike, the Galactic Fleet had no idea what was about to happen. The crew had awakened a giant, and it would not be long before the past came back to haunt them. The crew of the SS Valor was still in shock after the ancient human warship came to life. The mocking laughter from just moments ago faded into a heavy silence. Captain Jax stared at the view screen, his heart racing. "Zara, what's our status?" he demanded, trying to maintain control. Zara's fingers flew over her controls. "The ancient ship is powering up its weapons. It's ready for a fight!" Her voice trembled slightly, betraying her fear. "Prepare to engage shields," Captain Jax ordered, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We need to protect ourselves." The crew scrambled to follow orders. The tension in the control room was thick. Just moments ago, they were laughing at an old ship, and now they were faced with a potential battle against it. As the SS Valor raised its shields, the ancient warship aimed its weapons. Bright beams of energy shot out, illuminating the dark void of space. The crew gasped, their eyes wide with disbelief. "Captain, it's targeting us!" shouted one of the gunners. "Return fire," Captain Jax commanded. The crew complied, sending beams of energy back at the ancient ship. But the old vessel moved with surprising speed, dodging the shots easily. "It's not just an old ship," Zara realized, her voice filled with awe. "It's smart and it knows how to fight!" The SS Valor continued to fire, but each shot seemed futile. The ancient warship countered every move, its weapons firing with precision. The crew watched in horror as their attacks bounced off its thick armor. "Captain, we're not making a dent!" another crew member cried, panic creeping into his voice. "We need to retreat!" Jax shouted, feeling the weight of their situation. They had underestimated this ship, and now they were paying the price. As the SS Valor turned to escape, the ancient warship struck back. It unleashed a powerful blast that hit their shields, causing the ship to shake violently. The crew staggered, gripping their consoles to stay steady. "Damage report!" Captain Jax yelled, trying to keep calm. "We've lost auxiliary power," Zara reported. "Shields are down to 50%. Get us out of here! Now!" Jax ordered, his voice rising above the chaos. The crew worked frantically to maneuver the ship away from the ancient warship, but it was relentless. The old ship fired again, striking the SS Valor directly. Alarms blared as the ship rocked under the impact. Crew members were thrown against the walls, and Jax struggled to maintain control. "We're taking heavy damage," shouted one of the engineers. "We can't keep this up!" In the control room, the reality of their situation sank in. They had mocked the ancient ship, laughing at its age and design. Now it was a fierce opponent, fighting back with the strength of a long-lost era. "Captain, what do we do?" Zara asked, her voice shaking. Jax took a deep breath, his mind racing. "We need to regroup and think. There must be a way to outsmart it." The crew nodded, fear and determination mixing in the air. They had a chance to turn the tide, but they needed to work together. "Zara, focus on scanning the ancient ship," Jax instructed. "Find any weaknesses we can exploit." As Zara worked, Jax reflected on the warship's history. Humans had built it long ago, a time when their kind faced great dangers. It was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's spirit and resilience. Why did we underestimate it? Jax thought. We should have known better. The ancient warship continued its assault, but the crew of the SS Valor was no longer laughing. They were fighting for their lives against a force they had foolishly mocked. The reality of the situation hit them hard, and they knew they had to change their approach quickly. The tides of war had turned. The ancient ship was no longer just a relic. It was a fierce guardian of its legacy, and the galactic fleet was now facing the consequences of their arrogance. The battle had just begun, and the outcome was uncertain. The tension in the control room of the SS Valor was palpable. Captain Jax paced back and forth, deep in thought. The ancient warship had proven to be a fierce opponent, and they had underestimated it. They had mocked it, and now they were in danger. Zara, what's the status of the weapons? Jax asked, trying to stay calm. Zara looked up from her console, her eyes wide with fear. We're low on energy. The last hit took out a lot of our power. We can't fire again for a while. Great, Jax replied, frustration rising in his voice. We need to find a way to get our power back online quickly. We can't let that ship keep attacking us. Suddenly, the ship shook again, causing everyone to stumble. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to their stations. The ancient warship had fired again, this time hitting them harder than before. Shields are down to 20%, shouted one of the engineers, panic evident in their voice. Status report, Jax barked, struggling to keep control. The crew worked quickly, trying to assess the damage. We've lost life support in sections 2 and 3. We need to seal those areas, another crew member shouted, fear creeping into their voice. Do it! Now! Jax commanded. As the crew rushed to seal the damaged areas, Zara's fingers danced across her controls, desperately trying to find a way to fight back. Captain, I have an idea! If we can overload the engines, we might create a distraction long enough to escape. Jax considered the plan, knowing it was risky. It might be our only chance. Do it! Zara began working on the engines, her heart racing. She knew it was a gamble, but they had no choice. Just as she started the process, the ancient warship fired again, sending another wave of energy toward the SS Valor. The crew braced for impact. The blast hit, but this time the shields held, barely. The ship shook violently, and alarms echoed throughout the control room. We can't take another hit like that, one crew member yelled. Zara, how long until the overload? Jax shouted, gripping the edge of his console. Just a few more seconds. I need to stabilize the power surge, Zara replied, her fingers flying over the controls. The ancient warship, sensing the crew's struggle, prepared for another attack. It aimed its weapons, focusing on the SS Valor. The crew watched in horror as the ship began to glow again, ready to unleash its firepower. Brace for impact! Jax yelled, fear gripping his heart. Just as the warship fired, Zara shouted, "Now!" She hit the final key, causing the engines to overload. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the SS Valor, filling the control room with a blinding glow. The crew shielded their eyes, and when they looked again, they saw a massive explosion behind them. The ancient warship had been caught off guard, its focus broken. It fired wildly, missing the SS Valor completely. "Now's our chance!" Jax shouted, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Set a course away from the explosion!" As they maneuvered the ship, the crew watched the ancient warship struggle to regain control. The explosion had damaged its weapons, causing it to fire erratically. "Captain, it looks like we've distracted it," Zara exclaimed, her voice filled with hope. "Keep moving!" Jax ordered. "We can't let our guard down. It may recover quickly." The SS Valor sped away from the chaos, but the crew knew they had only bought themselves some time. The ancient warship was still alive, and its power was immense. They had awakened a force they didn't fully understand, and it wouldn't be long before it retaliated. As they put distance between themselves and the ancient ship, the crew took a moment to catch their breath. The laughter from earlier seemed a distant memory now, replaced by the reality of their situation. They were in a fight for survival against a ship that had history on its side. Jax glanced at his crew, seeing the fear in their eyes. They had mocked the old warship, but now they were its prey. "We need to come up with a new plan. This fight isn't over yet." The crew nodded, determination replacing fear. They had survived this round, but they knew the ancient warship would not rest. It would come after them, and they had to be ready. The battle was only just beginning, and the stakes were high. The crew of the SS Valor was on high alert. After their narrow escape, they knew the ancient human warship would come after them. Captain Jax gathered his crew in the control room, determination etched on his face. "Listen up, everyone!" Jax shouted, trying to rally their spirits. "We've faced this ship once, and we survived. But it will come for us again. We need to prepare for an intense fight." Zara stood by her console, her hands trembling slightly. "Captain, our power levels are still low. We need time to recharge." "Time is not on our side," Jax replied, glancing at the view screen. "We must find a way to outsmart it. Zara, can you analyze its previous attacks for any weaknesses?" Zara nodded, focusing on her screen. "I'll get right on it, but we need to be quick. It could be tracking us right now." The crew worked swiftly, each member understanding the gravity of their situation. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and the ancient warship would not be forgiving. Just then, the alarms blared again, cutting through the tense atmosphere. "Captain, the ancient ship is on our tail!" shouted one of the gunners. "Show it on the view screen," Jax ordered, his heart racing. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the ancient warship emerging from the debris of the explosion. It looked even more imposing now, its dark silhouette cutting through the stars. "It's gaining on us!" Zara shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "We can't outrun it!" Jax's mind raced. "Then we need to face it head-on. Prepare to engage!" The crew jumped into action, manning their stations. Jax gripped the controls tightly, trying to keep the ship steady. The ancient warship fired its weapons, and bright beams of energy shot toward the SS Valor. "Brace for impact!" Jax yelled, knowing they needed to stay strong. The ship shook violently as the beams struck, but their shields held just barely. "Fire back!" Jax commanded. The crew responded, sending their own beams of energy toward the ancient warship. But the old ship moved with surprising agility, dodging their shots. "Captain, it's too fast!" One of the gunners cried out in frustration. "Then let's outsmart it," Jax suggested. "Zara, can you create a diversion? Maybe we can make it think we're moving in one direction while we go the other." Zara's eyes lit up with an idea. "Yes, I can simulate a power surge on the left side of the ship. It might confuse it long enough for us to strike from the right." "Do it!" Jax ordered. "Everyone get ready for a surprise attack!" As Zara worked on her plan, Jax kept a close eye on the ancient warship. It continued to fire at them, its beams lighting up the darkness of space. The SS Valor shook with each impact, but the crew held on, determined to fight back. Finally, Zara shouted, "It's ready! On my mark, Captain! On 3!" Jax counted down. 1, 2, 3! Zara activated the diversion, causing the left side of the SS Valor to glow brightly. The ancient warship noticed the surge and shifted its focus, firing at what it thought was their weak spot. "Now, move to the right and fire!" Jax yelled. The crew quickly adjusted their course, taking advantage of the ancient ship's distraction. They fired their weapons with all their might, and this time their shots hit the target. "Direct hit!" one of the crew members cheered. But the ancient warship was not out of the fight yet. It retaliated with even more power, sending a series of blasts toward the SS Valor. The crew struggled to keep the ship steady, and alarms blared as the shields began to fail. "Captain, we can't hold much longer," Zara shouted, fear in her eyes. "Focus! We've come too far to back down now," Jax shouted back. "Prepare for another attack. We need to finish this!" As the crew braced for impact, Jax felt a surge of determination. They were fighting for their lives against a ship that was more than just metal and wires. It was a symbol of humanity's past, and they were here to prove that humans still had the heart to fight back. The battle raged on, both ships trading blows in a deadly dance among the stars. The crew of the SS Valor was pushed to their limits, but they refused to give in. The fight was intense, and the outcome remained uncertain. They knew they had to keep pushing forward, for victory was within their reach. The SS Valor floated in the dark silence of space, smoke rising from its damaged hull. The fierce battle against the ancient warship had finally come to a standstill. The crew gathered in the control room, hearts racing and minds buzzing with adrenaline. They had survived the fight, but at what cost? Captain Jack stood at the front, trying to assess the situation. "Report!" he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Zara, her face smeared with soot, looked up from her console. "We took heavy damage, Captain. Shields are down, and life support is unstable in sections 2 and 3. Can we fix it?" Jax asked, concern etching lines across his forehead. "We'll need time, and we'll have to work fast." "The ancient ship is still out there," Zara replied, glancing nervously at the view screen. Jax felt a wave of determination wash over him. "We've come too far to give up now. We need to make sure that ship doesn't come after us again. Let's gather what we can and prepare for repairs." As the crew worked quickly, Jax couldn't shake the feeling of unease. They had faced an incredible foe, one that had nearly destroyed them. But in that battle, they had also learned something vital about their own strength and unity. After what felt like hours, the crew managed to stabilize the ship. They patched up the life support systems and powered up the engines. Jax gathered everyone together once more. "I know we've been through a lot, but we survived. We fought back, and we learned how strong we are together." The crew exchanged glances, a sense of pride rising among them. They had faced fear and danger, and now they stood united. "Captain, what's our next move?" one of the engineers asked, breaking the silence. Jax paused for a moment, contemplating their next steps. "We need to find a way to send a message to the Galactic Federation. They need to know what we faced and what we've learned. We must prepare for any future encounters with that ancient ship and others like it." Zara nodded, her expression serious. "But what if the ancient warship comes back? We can't let it catch us off guard again." Jack smiled slightly, an idea forming in his mind. "Then we'll be ready. Let's turn this situation to our advantage. We can use what we learned about that ship and develop new strategies. We'll train and prepare for any possible future threats." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Jax's words. They began to brainstorm new ideas and strategies to improve their ship and their defenses. As they worked together, the bonds between them grew stronger. They were no longer just a crew, they were a family. Days passed as the crew repaired the SS Valor. They improved the ship's systems and weapons, taking every precaution to ensure they would be ready for anything. With each passing moment, their confidence grew. One quiet evening, Jack stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars. He thought about the battle they had fought and the lessons they had learned. Humanity had a long history of conflict, but they had also shown resilience and bravery. They were capable of greatness, and this new beginning would prove it. Zara approached him, a smile on her face. "Captain, we've received a signal from the Galactic Federation." "They want to meet with us!" Jax's heart raced. This was their chance to share their story and warn others about the ancient warship. "Prepare the ship for departure. We need to head to the Federation and tell them what we've learned." As they left the battle behind, Jax felt a sense of hope. The ancient warship had been a challenge, but it had also sparked a change within them. They were no longer just explorers, they were protectors of humanity's legacy. With a new mission ahead of them, the crew of the SS Valor set their course for the Galactic Federation. They were determined to share their experiences and prepare for whatever challenges awaited them. The fight for humanity's future was just beginning. Together, they were ready to face whatever came next.